Alright guys, welcome back to the Luchi Ray Final Fantasy XIV stream. The last time we went ahead and left off on our backstory to the game. And right now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to pick a data center and a character. Now, I apologize when I've got the sound on in this game, for whatever reason. I don't have a sound card, I'll be honest. I have a great computer, but it doesn't have a sound card. And for whatever reason, when I play this game, I get this weird interference on the side if I have the sound running. It doesn't happen in any other game, and I've never seen anyone else have this problem, so I apologize for the minor distraction there, but I figure better to have a funny bunch of little fingers than to just listen to me drone on without the cool music in the game. So speaking of which, I need to turn the music back up so you can actually hear it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to pick a data center. Now normally when you start the game you'll just hit start. Oops, and it's restarting the video because I've been timed out too long. But normally you'll just go ahead and hit start, but I'm going to show you a list of the data centers. And if you ever have to change your data center, like if you have several characters and you've got one on the primal and one on Aether, which I have my characters currently split up between these two. This is where you would change it before hitting start and then selecting your character. But this is a good way to see the list of the characters. First of all, if you are in Japan or Asia, you're going to want to pick either Elemental, Gaia, or Mana Data Center because those are home based out there, and that's generally the language that's spoken in those servers there. Aether and Primal are dedicated to North America, and Chaos is dedicated to Europe. And for those of you who play in North America, I highly recommend the Primal data centers. Data center servers, I mean. I'm currently on Behemoth for my main, and I just really love the atmosphere. The players are more serious-minded, but still typically very friendly. There's just a good variety of things going on there. It feels busy without feeling absolutely overrun, but you can tell when things are when there's lots of new things going on. There's lots of people running around and shouting and trying to join together to do new things. Hyperion was always a really helpful server too when I was there. And Lamia is a good one if you like something a little bit smaller. Sometimes it's a little harder to get into because it is gaining in popularity, so sometimes it's full and it's harder to start a new character there. But I would highly recommend Behemoth if you have the patience to sit there and try to get into a data center. Aether is where I actually started. And I started on a little server called Mateus. It's still one of the smallest out of all the data centers, which is kind of weird because Balmung and Gilgamesh are actually two of the largest data centers for the whole game. And this is where the bulk of most of the players are. But if you want something a little smaller, a little quieter, Fairy or Mateus would be good ones. I found Fairy has a lot of really friendly people. There's a lot of an underbelly of role players, but Balmung is a big one, and it is kind of the non-official role play server. So if you like role playing as a character or want to role play with others, that's a really good one. But I digress. Something to keep in mind when you pick your data center is, say you want to play, you know that Behemoth and a lot of the people here are, they take the game a little bit more serious than some of the more casual players, and you want to play with people like that. Keep in mind that even if you don't pick the same server, that whenever you go into instances like dungeons and leaves and things like that, they actually pick random people from all of these servers. So even if you're not on the same server as some of these other people, you still have the chance to play with them. So keep that in mind if you want people who are a little bit more laid back and casual. Aether might be a better choice for you. So just make your decision carefully. You know, pick something that works for you. And in the off chance that you start on a server and you really just don't like how it feels, this game does allow you to make more than one character. You can have up to 8 in one, or 8 on each one, and there's just a very slight difference in cost there, but basically you can have several characters, and each one of those characters though can play any job. Potentially, so don't be afraid to just stick to one character. If you want, you can still explore all aspects of the game on that one character, which is pretty great and pretty unique to this MMO. So let's go ahead. I'm going to leave this on Primal, and I'm going to go ahead and hit start. So this is my main character. She is a Lalafell, and she's currently dressed up in the monk gear. If you want to see a list of the different servers, you would click World, and they are listed here. As you can see, I have 2 total on the Primal Data Center. I've got 1 on Lamia, which is my big row, and I've got my Behemoth character. Now if you see this legacy thing here, that is in reference to the original servers from the 1.0 days. So the majority of the players that are on those servers, well, I shouldn't even really say majority, because you do have the option to transfer characters as well. But basically, especially when this game came out, these people that were on these servers were people from the original game, so they already kind of had a foot in on how to play the game as far as most aspects went, and they were familiar with the story and whatnot, so they kind of gave them their own special home. But you do have the ability to join them now, as long as they're open, and usually the legacy servers are pretty hard to get into because they are obviously already had a lot of people on them from the start, so a lot of people congregated to them rather quickly, and they've pretty well maintained their population, so I just keep that in mind. You may be waiting a while. If there's ever a server that you want to get into that you find is full, I'll show you what you can do here in a minute to wait through that, but your best bet is to pick a weekday that most people, that there isn't something new or something being reset in the game. Obviously weekends would be kind of bad, and always pick a really weird hour. Obviously most gamers like to play late at night, but a lot of people aren't really playing at like 5 or 6 a.m. So keep that in mind. That's kind of that quiet lull between the night owls and the early risers. And reset days are on, I believe, Tuesdays for like the in-game currency, and I believe crafters reset on Thursdays. So a Wednesday, say a Wednesday or a Thursday would probably, or even a Monday maybe, so Sunday morning even, really, after people have partied hard and have crashed. Those might be good times to get in, but I'm starting to ramble, so I'm gonna go ahead and come in here and build a new character for you guys. Go ahead and X out of that. Go ahead and hit new character. Now normally you would just hit OK here, but I'm going to go ahead and load some appearance data just because I have something already that I have in mind that I want to use. This is an Elizan I had saved, but I will go back real quick just to show you kind of a few of the starting things, and I'm going to kind of breeze through this because character creation to me is something that you should take the time to really pick out what you want, and I think it's kind of fun to explore all the options, and I could be here for hours showing you all the different options, so I'll just give you a brief overview of the different options that are available. The first thing you're going to do is pick your race and your gender. There's 6 races. There's the Hyurs, who are the human type. The Elizans are the elf type. The Lalafels are the cute little midgets. And the Mikotes are the cat people. The Rodagans are the seafarers of this game, and they are quite large and in charge. And the Auras are the dragon, kind of like a dragon. Wow, my brain just went blank there. They are the dragon race of the game, and the males are rather tall, but the females are quite short. And when you go through these, you'll notice that there's 2 clans, as it says right here. There's 2 clans that you can choose from when you go through these, and you'll notice that the colorings and markings may be slightly different on those, but just play around with your options. Skin colors will also vary. Usually the secondary choice on the races are going to be a little darker, like the dusk white Elizan has a lot of gray tones in their skin. The same thing for the Mikotes. There is the, what are they called? Oh goodness, I forget their, I want to say it's like Sun and Moon clans. And the Moon is more of a grayish tone as well. And then the Aura, you can either have like creamy colored horns or dark colored horns. So just keep that in mind. Your race will impact your base stats just very slightly, not really enough to notice in the long run. But if you really want to get into the lore, study the information there and pick something that fits for you. But I'm going to go ahead and hit confirm because this is the race and gender that I wanted. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick the appearance. Now we've got all these different things here. We've got height, bust size, skin color, hairstyle, hair color, face, jaw, eye shape, iris size, eye color, eyebrows, nose, mouth, lip color, ear shape, ear size, facial features, tattoos, tattoo color, paint, face paint and face paint color, and then the voice finally. Now when you're going through this, you have the option of just standing still or using some of the unique poses and postures of the race you chose. And then here we've got a preview. You can use your race clothes because each race has clothes that are slightly built differently. Small clothes would be a preview of you in your underwear, and the job preview I'll show you here in just a minute. Keep in mind whatever face you choose is going to slightly impact some of your facial features. For instance, the aura, the different face shapes have different shaped horns. So there may be a horn that you really like on the aura, but you don't really care for all of the facial features. But the good thing is you can come in here and edit the jaw and ears and certain things a little bit. So something else that's pretty cool is when you're selecting your eye color, you can do odd eyes if you like. You can do like one dark, one light. And when you pick the all raw race, which was that dragon race, they actually have something called umbral rings that kind of go around the outside. And while the main physical characteristics of your character are always going to be locked, unless you use a special potion called a Fantasia, which costs real money, you are able to change your hair color and your face paints later on in the game through the in-game currency, which is really easy to obtain. And umbral rings, oddly enough, you can add, remove, and change the color. So keep that in mind. I like to choose a light color for my aura's eyes, and then that way I have the choice of either doing like a light umbral ring to make their eyes look really bright and white, or I can put a dark umbral ring around it to make it look more sinister or something. Sometimes I change it depending on what job I'm playing. But You can make your character look the same all the time if you want, or you can be like a lot of us who go in and change the hair like every other day. It's totally up to you. But these are some of the options. Different facial features are available for different races. The Elizans have the option for adding on special ear clips, a scar, and some things like that. Mikotes have like little whisker markings, kind of face paint triangles off to the side that you can add in. But I just went ahead and added some tattoos and left it to where I'm not really putting any face paint on at the time. I may add something on later. And when you come in and do your voice, there's 12 different voice types to choose from, and then you can preview them up here, not just for one emotion, but for 5. So I could go in here and do the angry, the happies, the yes, and the no. So I'm going to go with this one because it's got a little bit extra emotion than some of the other ones that are a little bit more blasé, but it's not over the top. Some of the voices are really really quite very eccentric, so I'm going to leave those as I had them set earlier, and I'm going to go ahead and confirm this. Going to go ahead and confirm this. I'm not going to save the appearance data because I already have, but if you want to save it so you can have something to come back to quickly in case you decide to delete this character, start on a new server, you know, go for it. It's really not that hard to start over, especially since they've made it to where the opening cutscene can be skipped, because it's a very long cutscene and it's really good to watch. Please don't skip cutscenes in this game, especially if you like stories in a game. I am, for the sake of time, going to skip little bits and pieces of the story, just so it doesn't spoil it too much if you decide to play it yourself, but also for the sake of time, especially today, since I'm going to be doing a lot of introductions to the game and tutorial type things. But anyway, for save appearance data, I'm not going to save it right now, but this is where we go ahead and pick our days of birth. I'm going to go ahead and go with this one. And there's even some lore on what guardian that you want. And again, this doesn't really impact the game too much, just like the birthday didn't either. It affects the elemental attributes slightly, but again, it's really not a huge thing. I'm going to go ahead and go with this one though, because he is the ruler of the mountains and god of travelers and vagrants, and I'm going to make this character start in one city town and kind of find her home in another town. So especially since this clan in particular is more of a reserved, kind of hidden in the mountain sort of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and select this one. And here's a list of the different jobs, and it gives you a description here about what it is. It also tells you what city you're starting in, and there's 3 main cities. There's actually a little preview down here. There is Limsa, which is an oceanic island. There is there's the Shroud, and Gridania's out in the Shroud. That's their Adventurers Guild over there. It's a city nestled in the forest, and it's on the mainland. Ul'dah is also on the mainland. So this is the big town behind there, and it's more of a deserty, rather sparse area. So depending on what job you pick will affect which town you start in. For this character, I'm going to go with an Arcanist because it has a unique ability. It's the only job that can split into it's the only class, I'm sorry, that has the ability to switch into 2 different jobs. You have the ability to either become a scholar or become a summoner once you hit a certain level. And keep in mind in this game that you can level all of these, but I would highly recommend, if you kind of know your play style and kind of know what you want to play, pick something that you know you're going to love. I know it's every job's different, every game is different, so you may not find something you love right away, but try to pick something that you think you'll really stick with, because the longer you stick with it, you know, the more experience you're going to gain faster, and you'll get through the story a lot faster too. But on the same token, if you want to go through your jobs and kind of, you know, take each one to say like level 10 or level 15 and kind of get a small feeling for what each class is like, you can build that way. But it's really good to start on one and kind of focus on it for a while. That way you can really make use of all your skills, because there's a lot of skills to each job, and it's really beneficial to really understand and live and breathe your job for a while until you get used to it, so you can maximize your potential later. But I will let you know the tanks in this game are Gladiator and Marauder to start with. So if you like tanking, those would be your choices. And once you level a class and you get to level 30, that's where you get to make the decision to go ahead and make it into a job, and that's going to be your specialized version of your class, basically. So if you decide to become a paladin later on, that main class is going to be a gladiator. If you decide to be a warrior, that's going to be your marauder. And oddly enough, what they do in this game, which is kind of nice because it gives you a little bit of insight on the other classes, which again is kind of good because then you kind of learn about the way other people are playing, is if you decide to become a warrior, what you do is you level Marauder to 30 and you level Gladiator to 15. You have to have both of those leveled to those numbers in order to start your level 30 Marauder quest to become a level 30 warrior. So keep that in mind. You may want to do some research and see which two classes you need to level for your job. I want to go with Summoner and Scholar, so I'm going to level Arcanist first and then eventually these two to give me my other bases for the jobs that I need. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and show you what the job preview looks like. This is something they added not too long ago. This wasn't always available, but it gives you an idea of what your clothes are going to look like. If you've played other games and you're familiar with different battle classes, it might give you a better understanding of what this job is going to be like, and or if you've played other Final Fantasy games. But this is what the level 50 attire is, and this game does have glamour, so if you don't like what some of this gear looks like, it's okay. There's plenty of gear to choose from, and a lot of us like to glamour over it anyway, so we can have our own unique look. But yeah, so this is what the summoner is going to look like later on. I'm going to go ahead and confirm this and pick a server. And I'm going to go ahead and go with Marlborough, I guess, because it looks like that's one of only 3 that's available. Like I said, Primal's pretty full. It's a very busy data center. And if you have the time though, this is where you get to hit the update button. You can refresh every 3 minutes and wait to see if something opens up. Because every time somebody deletes a character, a slot opens up. So you can do that. Another good option would be to go to the lodestone. There is an option to look. Actually, let me pull it up for you. Let me see if I can find it so you can find it quickly. Go ahead and remove this. Sorry about that. I should have been a little bit more prepared on this. Screen capture. Here we go. Okay, so if you come on here and we go back to news, there's this top link here called regarding character creation restrictions. And this shows you what is available. It's kind of an approximate thing because they go in and check at these times here, Pacific time. So basically about every 4 hours they go in and check to see which servers have openings. And as you can see, the ones that have the most openings in North America are Adamantoise, Brynhildr, Cactar, Coral, Fairy, Famfrit, Goblin, Genova, Malboro, Mactaeus, Midgardsormr, Sargatanas, Siren, and Zalera. And yes, that was a timer going off because I'm trying to limit myself to about 30 minutes on each of these videos because I know this first one was going to be a doozy. But again, this is where you can see the list of kind of what's available. That way you don't have to sit here literally every 3 minutes waiting to see if something opens. But obviously this would be the most current and up-to-date information because you're actually in the game to see. I don't know anyone on any of these servers here, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick one. I'm going to go ahead and go with Marlborough and hit confirm. And then my character's name was going to be Meril. I'm also going to go ahead and close that. So her name is going to be Meril Celebrensarn, and there's rules here on what kind of characters you can and cannot use. But I'm going to go ahead and get that in there, and then I will join you guys on the other side to go ahead and start the story.